story begins as a strange spore falls into the deep forest. It slips inside a rat's nose, invading its nuclei and replicating the mutated cells. It ends up reincarnating the whole body. The infected animal is clueless about its surroundings because of a disturbed outlook. However, as the rat looks at the reflection in the puddle of water, he is way more disturbed to find out that he is now a rat. Meanwhile, a plant attacks and completely devours a three-legged bird before him. He finds himself in a different world. However, he worked on his laboratory research the last time he remembers. He further assumes that some experimental mistake could have killed him because, after that, he saw a goddess who told him he would be reincarnated as a virus. It means she is not a rat but a virus that has taken control of the body. Deep down, she is a scientist and finds it illogical to believe in a goddess. She finds her current situation funny as she was the one who had performed multiple experiments on the rats, and now she believes karma has reincarnated her into a rat. She visualizes virus particles coming out of her body. She tries to concentrate and successfully change her perspective into a virus. Now she has turned into her viral state. She is in a capillary tube and fears white blood cells as they can kill her. Meanwhile, she watches multiple copies popping out of a cell membrane. An army of viruses gathers there, and she finds herself in charge of them as they have no free will to act. She controls their actions as they show collective response and consciousness towards her orders. Suddenly, an announcement icon appears in which her abilities are inscribed. She is amazed to know about her abilities to infect, duplicate, and dominate. She can control the animal by infecting it and then dominating the whole body with full potency. By successfully controlling the RNA of the bush rat, she further gains the abilities of danger perception and cowardice. She finds it fascinating that the more living beings she infects, the more abilities she will gain. She has never seen such a remarkable evolution in a single organism. Such abilities can turn an organism into an ominous creature. So, she starts to test her abilities on different plants. The virus works on the first plant she counters, and she acquires the skill of pain and fever relief from it. However, it does not affect the next plant. Her secondary viral infection may be too weak to grant her access. Suddenly, that plant attacks her with his sharp teeth. She thinks of her as weak, but her enormous abilities manage her to escape its attack. She moves on curiously, thinking that a dull researcher like her is reincarnated as a virus. If she continues improving her skills, this new life can become a new pandemic, and she can gain world domination. While boasting about his powers, she gets alarmed by an approaching threat. She tries to run away, but the cowardice skills of her host activate, which prevents escaping in any situation. She cannot believe it. She has just been reincarnated as a virus, but his first host will be killed with him inside it. A goddess is watching the whole scene. What will she do for him? The virus remembers his past as a researcher. His colleagues avoided him while he continued working alone all day on a new strain of the virus. Now in his new life as a virus, he has been devoured inside his host rat. Soon after becoming conscious, he comes to know that his host has been eaten by the wolf and he is also inside its body. Am I going to die here? He questions himself. He thinks of reincarnating into a human, but ruminating about the same tedious work that he used to do, he changes his mind. He gets awful and orders all his same viruses to infect and replicate their numbers inside the wolf. He completely infects the wolf by activating a trait of domination inside it. This control gives him multiple skills, including ferocity, agility, stamina, and an improved outlook. As soon as he takes full control, he starts to feel like a wolf. The rat in its mouth has a stinking smell, but it tastes good. However, this means that the virus has successfully reincarnated the whole animal. His host's death does not affect his survival if he continues to infect living organisms. In this way, he will remain young and alive everlastingly. He finds it fascinating and moves right away to infect other animals. He watched a few animals around him, but no one dared to come near the wolf. Now his host wolves are stronger than his previous host. He feels boredom in the body of a usual animal. Such prey was also present in his previous world. Now he wants to control the body of fantasy creatures like goblins and dragons. By chance, he watches 3 goblins standing at some distance. They look like tiny humanoid monsters. He is amazed to see them. It feels like this world is linked to the fantasy world he used to read books about. He makes up his mind to infect them and take control of them. Meanwhile, he hears a human whining who is barely fighting those goblins. The goblins are attacking the girl, who looks weary and her outfit seems tattered. She does not look like she belongs to this modern world. On the contrary, goblins are pretty energetic. It is also the best chance for him to obtain the goblin's skills and then reincarnate the human body for future research. He combines the traits of a rat and wolf, agility, and ferocity respectively. Now his host has the abilities of rats also. It makes him feel confident in a tense situation and lightweight to jump. One goblin tries to attack the girl. He jumps towards it and bites its neck. The girl gets shocked to see a giant gray wolf in front of her. The second goblin comes to attack the wolf but gets instantly killed. He also gets the skill of night vision and a short temper by infecting it. The third goblin is frightened and tries to run away. The protagonist thought that the escaping goblin could prove to be dangerous for other humans, so he must steal its abilities. He blows viral speckles from his nostrils at the goblin, and they infect him in no time. The protagonist obtains a particular skill, dexterity, from the goblin. Now he can perform tasks more proficiently. He approaches the girl who seems afraid of him. She does not look injured. He starts to think that infecting her could prove helpful in gathering information about this new world. This world might be advanced in scientific knowledge that can get him to know about himself. The girl speaks, "Why is the wolf not killing her?" The protagonist is still thinking about it. He decides that needs to gather more information about this world before infecting her. The girl suddenly starts to treat the wolf like a pet, as it looks like the wolf has saved her life and now it seems unharmful. So, she hugs the wolf. The protagonist instantly jumps off, thinking of her as a mindless girl. The adventurer is too talkative. She has read some combat books named Swordsmanship. However, she needs to gain survival expertise to go on an adventure. She also tells him about her likeness to tasty food. The protagonist thinks that he is in the body of a wolf, so why is she talking to an animal like that? She has nothing important to tell. He wonders if all humans are like her in this world. At last, she told me something important. She is an adventurer, but what the protagonist remembers about the real adventurers is that they kill dangerous monsters to collect medicinal herbs. He thinks in his mind, what is this lone girl doing here? Soon the girl realizes that she is boring the wolf. So, she introduces herself as Alina. She finds out that she is not at all talented at adventuring. Even the lowest ranked goblins can efficiently defeat her. She is too weak to fight with them. However, she wants to be strong, so the protagonist seeks it as an excellent opportunity to strengthen her viral abilities. She is wandering here alone because the Adventurers Guild ignored her. She has not talked with anyone for a long time. She excitedly kisses the wolf, considering the wolf his first partner. The protagonist again jumps away. He gets surprised by her intimacy. For him, such intimacy is abnormal. If this had happened to him in the previous world, it could have caused a criminal case against him. Alina decides to go home as it gets dangerous to walk in the jungle after sunset. The protagonist wants to find where she lives, so he walks her way home. She becomes very pleased to watch the fox moving aside from her. While on the way, she talks about a small village where she used to farm. They were happily leading their life. However, one day the goblins attacked their land. Nobody got killed, but they destroyed her village to ashes. So, they had to move to a new place. This calamity compelled her to become strong. From then she starts to plan to become an adventurer and a guardian of his new town. The protagonist realizes the same ambition he once developed while creating medicine for his people in the previous world. His captivity at work resulted in him becoming socially distant from everyone. Alina's ambition impresses him a lot. She has faced the same problem as the protagonist has faced, and she remains steadfast. But he did not. After some time, they reach her town, Faust. Alina lives in a big town. The protagonist has never seen such an advanced town with multiple facilities in his previous life. He thinks about infecting all the people in town. Meanwhile, she wants to invite him inside the town, but the protagonist knows everyone will fear a monster like him. She goes to the town saying that she will meet him one day. The protagonist thinks he can meet her if she comes on an adventure. He has not talked with anyone for a long time. So, he also hit upon the idea of becoming an adventurer. In this way, he can travel the land, interact with different people, and improve and grab more skills by infecting them. I figured out that the host he selects is the problem. He must select a remarkable host. Of course, he cannot select Alina because she is challenging herself to mimic in front of her family. An anonymous corpse could work, but he does not know whether it can walk. Meanwhile, he ponders. He watches a group of goblins. He plans to enter the town by impersonating a human. Firstly, he needs to impersonate a goblin. However, it is not that easy because there are 5 of them grouped like a clan. When he tries to infect them, one of them is already infected. He remembers he infected him while protecting Alina, and he was the one who ran away. His virus might have dominated his body until now. However, he needs to be more knowledgeable about seizing it. He took over the wolf's body by being eaten away by his host. However, he wants to avoid going through a similar lousy experience this time. He cannot let the goblins eat the fox, and this plan needs to be revised. So, he starts to ponder that earlier he used to change his perception into another living being by focusing more. Indeed, every virus is a part of itself. All he needs is to intensify on the clones inside that goblin. He entirely concentrates on switching his perspective and finally changing his outlook as a goblin. The affected goblin is scared as everyone around is watching him with ambiguity. He asks them, "Did I make a mistake?" One of the goblins tells him to just hand over the bag he is holding. The protagonist somehow understands their language. It might be because he has wholly controlled his host's brain. A female goblin is also in their group. She gives the protagonist a leaf that can calm his mind. After that, he looks at the wolf whose control he just has left. its absolute consciousness seems to return. The wolf looks at the goblins as its prey. He tries to run away. Nevertheless, it is difficult for the protagonist to run with the goblin's feet. So, he activates his stamina and agility skills to climb high on the mountain. They all try to boast about their frequent escape, but in reality, the protagonist's trait has enabled them to move fast. In his view, they must worship his skillful abilities. After some time, they head towards their home. The protagonists also follow them in order to avoid any eccentricity. They use a cave to inhabit. It is guarded by 2 goblins. They all are in a sordid condition. Most of them are foodless and wear breechcloths. After entering, they start to worship their boss, the hobgoblin, who is angry as they arrive late. He is a human-sized beast named Hobgoblin Sama. They beg for his mercy because the orcs have stolen their food and now they brought nothing special. The hobgoblins were hungry, so he ordered them to attack human villages. They requested that they are weak and unable to defeat humans. Hobgoblin kicked 2 goblins very hard, and they tossed them away. He is enraged with hunger. The protagonist shouts at him to find food by himself. He calls the hobgoblin a lazy, spoiled child. The boss approaches him with anger. In the protagonist's mind, the boss is acting according to the plan. He has planned to infect the boss with his contaminated breath. As the hobgoblin gets near him, he receives a message inscribing virus-resistant detection. Furthermore, his viral particles need more time to execute the infection. The protagonist is unaware that virus resistance can happen in front of some species. The boss lifts him by grabbing his head with his fist and asks, "Do you have the ability to go against me?" In no time, the orcs will occupy this place. But before that, I will pop your head. The protagonist is disgusted that infecting the hobgoblin takes longer than it usually takes to infect another being. He realizes his infection time changes from target to target. The boss clenches the protagonist's face to kill him. Suddenly, a notification appears, encrypting duplication inside the host body. The boss is about to eat his host goblin. However, the protagonist completely hijacks the hobgoblin Sama and takes complete control of the beast. He brings down his previous host that hobgoblin is lifting. The host goblin is clueless about what was happening around him before. The boss tells everyone he is reconsidering his approach, and now they will work together as friends. He obtains the attribute of brute strength, sharp claws, and patience. These skills are highly ranked and can be helpful in battlegrounds. Meanwhile, the goblin's guard points everyone to move out as the orcs have arrived outside their cave. The orcs threaten them to leave the cave immediately as it is their land. The protagonist figures out that there is a big difference in strength between the goblins and the orcs. However, he decides to fight with these orcs. It is also a perfect destination to test the strength of his abilities. He has also prepared an escape plan if things seemingly go south for him in the battle. All the goblins are scared of the giant orcs. It is foolish to fight with a much stronger enemy, so he feels the need to give them an encouraging speech. He wants to stir up their spirit to fight. He addresses them clearly and loudly, "You all are vigorous, and I need your vigor to fight those orcs to protect our home." The goblins get stirred as they never heard such motivated words. He further increases infection potency to an infinite level to infect all the goblins, so he can skill them up with stamina, agility, and dexterity up to maximum level. He also activates brute strength among them. It considerably increases their strength and size. They are looking sure to fight. At some point, the protagonist is afraid that the goblins themselves could find it suspicious, but all of them are foolish to realize anything. So, he girds up his lion as this fight will be his most extensive trial after reincarnation. The boss orc utters that the goblins are intelligent and might have used some magic to strengthen their body. Now both sides are equal in strength and also in numbers. The protagonist spread his airborne infection to some distance. Some orcs also get infected by it. He receives multiple symptoms after infecting them all. Now he can quickly kill the orcs in the fight because most skills they have are now also possessed by him. If he can infect all of them, his viral abilities can make him invulnerable. The protagonist taunts them that the pigs have lost their courage. One orc replies that you are still the same vile goblins even if your body looks different. You cannot fight our strength. After saying that, the orc attacks the protagonist with his spear, but the protagonist kills him with a single dispatch of the sword. Everyone is shocked to see the speed and strength of his blow. Even the protagonist is stunned as he is worried about handling the sword. His dexterity skill helps him handle the sword properly. He was initially scared, but right now he feels fanatical about fighting. The orcs are higher ranked monsters than goblins. They can kill the goblins single-handedly. The protagonist uses buff on the goblins to increase fighting vigor. Now they also start to put havoc on the orcs. Each of their kills infects them, and he continually gains new skills. This time he achieves robustness, fatigue recovery, and physical manipulation. The boss orc orders them to free the beast they have chained. His companion replies that he is untamed, so he can kill everyone. The orcs cannot afford to lose a battle with goblins. One orc manages to kill a goblin. The protagonist receives a message encrypting two negative symptoms, anemia and fatigue. These weakening symptoms can also grow inside his infected beings. He feels like a mighty force playing with enemies, but now will push them for their sins. Meanwhile, he watches a thunder burst, but the sky is clear. A massive bear is moving towards him. It has the power to employ electric current. The boss orc points the electro bear toward the goblins. The bear's thunder turned the orc into ashes, and now he will attack the protagonist. All the goblins suggest running as they fear the electro bear will kill them all. However, the protagonist has other plans. He wants to gain the electric skills of the bear. He holds a spear from a goblin and draws some contaminated blood into its blade. He throws the spear at the electro bear. The bear's fur blocks it away. Suddenly, he discovers some symptoms of light resistance, sharp claws, and blade-proof fur. It happens because some of his blood gets into the eyes of the bear. Now he tries to transfer his consciousness towards the bear, but the virus cannot dominate the electro bear. He is shocked as the bear's electric power kills all the viruses outside his body. Now the electro bear is coming to strike them. The electro bear attacks them with his lightning strike. Two goblins instantly turn to ash. The protagonist activates light resistance ability to block the attack. However, this skill can only partially fence the strike, so he gets much damage. The rest of the goblins start to run away. The protagonist regrets his impudent behavior. He cannot risk his host dying as the beast looks sturdy. He plans to escape the fight by engaging the bear with goblins. The bear attacks him and bites his arm with full strength. It lost control over his one arm, and he remains sturdy. He hits upon an idea to infect the bear. He remembers infectious blood particles entering his eyes when the bear blocks his spear. They are not enough to dominate as the bear countered most of his airborne virus spread. The bear must be unable to immune itself against the virus once it gets inside its body. With the savage bite, much blood streams into the bear's body. The protagonist activates all the negative symptoms inside the bear of his infection. He also gains light absorbing and shock resistance attributes. The bear starts to feel weak by activation of anemia, fatigue, weakness, and other infective responses. The bear pulls the lightning attack on him again. This time the protagonist is resistant to all of his techniques. The virus inside the bear is dominating, and he receives new skills, magic power generation, electromagnetic discharge, and engagement. Finally, he gives the bear a slashing blow, and it dies instantly. The protagonist is very happy as he has proved himself to be the strongest. He is badly wounded and dashes to the ground. The goblins care for him, and he has been living with them for 3 days. Seemingly, he has killed the orcs, so the goblins are having no difficulty finding food. He is also now recovered with his ability and vitality. An average person with such arm damage cannot live everyday life. He has also deactivated his symptoms from the goblins because the mutated goblins can create suspicion in the minds of humans. Two goblins give delicious food to Hobgoblin, but he tells them he does not want it. They insisted on eating because they love their boss. It is the first time multiple beings have liked the protagonist, even though they are goblins. He is delighted to spend some time as a hobgoblin. One goblin finds a cult mask and gives it to his boss. The protagonist is a virus, and he has the urge to occupy every place. With this mask, he can impersonate himself as a human. The hobgoblin is suited up like a human for his departure. He thoroughly covers his body. He tells his companions of a realization that he is not strong enough through the last fight. He is going on a journey in order to improve himself. His goblins do not want him to leave as they are emotionally attached to him. He is also feeling sentimental in this situation. A female goblin hands him an elec bear's fur. She said it is warm and durable, and you should use it on the journey. Her caress act stirs him, passionately speaking that you guys are powerful and fought the orcs. I am handing this place to you because I believe in you guys. I will surely come back. All of them cherish their strength, and few start to weep. The protagonist has developed enough abilities in them that they can defend themselves. He decided to visit them if he ever got a chance. He decides to visit the town Faust. He already knows its route, but the problem is that Alina needs to recognize him as his current host. She only knows the wolf and not the protagonist himself. He thinks of the idea of becoming an adventurer. In this way, he can talk to her. However, he starts to question himself about his dress. He is covering a green hobgoblin acting like a human. The protagonist tries to make his host speak human language, but his accent needs to be more precise. He is determined to achieve his ambition. However, he is also confused regarding his strange appearance. Down the hill, he watched a carriage being guarded by multiple guards. A pack of wolves is attacking them. They are fighting with them, but their increasing number is dominating the fight. In no time, the protagonist activates his secrecy skill and sneaks into the fight. One guard noticed his presence and questioned him to identify himself. His skills are working well because they do not consider him a monster. The protagonist answers that he is here to help them. Meanwhile, they are conversing. A wolf attacks Hobgoblin and bites his arm. He strikes the wolf on the ground, saying it interrupts his conversation. Someone in the carriage noticed his strength. The protagonist must be careful because the wolf is about to tear his clothes. If this happens, everyone can watch his green skin. He plans to infect and kill the wolves by inducing negative symptoms inside them. While fighting, one soldier comes near him, and the protagonist mistakenly infects him through his airborne virus spread. In no time, he receives multiple attributes of the soldier, including serenity and kinetic vision. He fears that if humans of this world ever sort out people with virus infection, they will make medicine out of it, and the protagonist will die. 3 more wolves try to attack him but get slayed instantly while the rest run away. The soldier thanks him and applauds his vicious moves. They also request to see his face and to know his name. The protagonist shivers. All of a sudden, a young guy came out of that carriage. He is highly grateful for his help, and they might be in a big problem without him. One soldier inquiries about his condition and calls him Roy-sama. The guy is amiable. His carriage fell, and the wolves surrounded them. He thought he was miserable. He feels lucky as the hobgoblin has saved him, so welcome him to travel with him. The young guy introduces himself as a merchant of Valkyrie firm. His name is Roy and Hart. He tells Hobgoblin the reason why the wolves were surrounding them. He is loading an order of special meat. It must have attracted the wolves. His guards are also tired of the long travel. Indeed, they did not lose to the gray wolves. While talking, the protagonist realizes he has hit the jackpot. The merchant looks rich so that he can reward him with some money. The protagonist needs it dirty as his condition is broken. The merchant is still talking to him. This time he is praising his fighting abilities. His mind goes crazy when he watches the hobgoblin spare some wolves after recklessly killing many of them. It looks like you are not afraid of death. He is right. Without complete annihilation, the protagonist cannot die. He continues thinking in his mind that the merchant is wealthy but is also humble. So, he thought of inquiring about medicinal work here. He questions his health as many people are getting sick lately. He replies that miasma and mineral sickness have infected so many people. The protagonist is unaware of these diseases. He thought they were the same diseases with different names in this world. So, ask him, viruses perhaps. The merchant needs to be more knowledgeable. He has no idea what a virus is. He answers that he does not know about this disease. The protagonist expects a hit from this merchant because he has asked a straightforward question. So, the protagonist realizes that viruses are not discovered in this world. He tries to change the topic by confusing viruses as a new name for specific disease-causing crystals. Now he feels free to do anything. He looks at the soldier who possesses good attributes. One of them is already infected, so infect all of them to acquire their valuable skills and abilities. He increases his virus density and affects all the soldiers. He gains considerable practical skills with some cunning skills also. The protagonist panicked after acknowledging the reality of the merchant. He thinks it is normal for someone like him who has never been in such a situation. However, he has one advantage over the merchant that has infected him. In this way, he can easily defeat him in a fight. Now he feels exhausted. He needs to find a place to rest. There are people of different races, like dwarfs and cat people, in the town. He thinks of acquiring multiple attributes from them. He visits multiple buildings, but nobody allows him to enter because of his worn-out clothes. One guy tells him he looks like a murderer to enter his rest house. He must be clean as a dove. No one is ready to compensate him without cash. This uncivilized world is unbearable for him. One old guy suggests an adventurer's guild to him. They can give him some money for bear fur. He reaches their building. It appears like a bar. Everyone keeps on looking at him. He reached the counter. A female lady warmly welcomed him. He gives her a bear's fur. She brings out an adventurer registration form. The protagonist tells him that he is an outsider with no ID. She tells him it is no problem because their guild works on total meritocracy. They always need more workforce, so they welcome everyone, especially people with odd situations. She further asked him to tell her his name. The protagonist is a virus impersonating a hobgoblin. He has no name in this new life, so he created his name Walker Parasite. Walker was his real name in the previous world, and parasite is the French word for the parasite. He thought that he was not a parasite, but he created a good name. She gives him a 6th grade card and a tag. She told him that if he could improve to grade 4, he could easily use his card instead of his ID. In addition, he looks like a newly recruited strong officer, so many parties will try to approach him. She tries to help him with the tasks as he is a newbie. She further tells him some tasks about collecting F-ranked herbs and E-ranked horned rabbits. The protagonist is here only for money, so he hands her the skin of an electro bear in exchange for money. She gets surprised as the hobgoblin has already brought something even before registration. She gets shocked to see an elect bear's skin. It is an S-ranked beast that is already requested to be killed. She asked him where he got this skin. He replied that he had defeated the elect bear. Everyone in the hall is stunned at his reply. The protagonist said he was joking. He had killed the beast with his team. It also took 20 goblins before death. So, the receptionist hands him a bag full of gold as a reward for subjugation. The protagonist is glad to make a successful trade. Although he is weak in negotiations, he does not let them know more about him. He also realizes the fact that this guild allows people who do not even have ID. The main reason is that most criminals and people skilled enough to knock such giant monsters would not like to be recognized. The employee also seems skilled enough as she has some visible scratches. So, the protagonist plans to infect him. He returns and tries to talk, but the employee tells him another person is already waiting in line. He looked behind her and Alina was standing behind him. Alina excuses Hobgoblin to get away, which the protagonist readily admits. She also admires the strength that he has brought down an elect bear. He is quite surprised as he never expected her to meet her in such a place. She has brought the requested herbs. It means she has become an adventurer. While she is dealing with the employee, the protagonist orders a beer and sits down at a table. He starts to think about her situation while adventuring. He cannot talk with her through this host as it can cause speculation. Alina inquired about his request. The employee replies that still, no one wants to team up with her. The protagonist is watching all the happenings, and he believes that this place is not meant for an innocent soul like her. She has no special abilities compared to people here. She must return to farm work that best suits her. While leaving the building, a prominent young guy Gajaru-san stopped her. He asked her whether she had joined a clan or not. The protagonist thinks that he might be recruiting her into his clan. They have insidious plans for her. Alina has already negated this insane offer, and she negates him again. The protagonist figures out that he was wrong about recruitment. He does not want to make a mess in this place by beating them, so he decides to wait for someone to stop this harassment. The people around her are also cheering with Gadgetu-san while all others are watching this unpleasant activity. Gadgetu-san tries to harass her physically. She starts to cry to get off her. At last, the protagonist stands up and warns him to leave her. Gadgetu replied, "Your voice sounds like a goblin. Moreover, I do not want to hurt an outsider like you." The protagonist tells him that he is her party member. Gadgetu-san mocks him that a mindless person would make a group with her. Saying this, he pushes the girl aside and tries to punch the hobgoblin. He blocked his punch and asked him to apologize to her. Gadgetu gets shocked by this strength. He thinks that he is Almighty Gadgetu-sama, who can block his punch so easily. Meanwhile, he activates magic power generation and electromagnetic discharge abilities. Gadgetu-san falls to the ground after taking one mighty strike. His companions get shocked by his magic lightning. One of his friends is the faster spellcaster in the guild. However, the protagonist uses the same abilities on him, and he also cannot stand in his way anymore. Another guy Gadgetu-san is skilled in close-range fights. He successfully lands a punch on Hobgoblin, but it inflicts no damage on him. The protagonist defeats him with a single blow. Everyone is astounded at Gadgetu's defeat. They have no idea who this guy is, as he is fully recovered in costume. The protagonist said that he feels sorry for the unrequested fight. He left the place after saying that. While he moved away, Alina said she was highly thankful for his help. Just moments after becoming a part of an adventure, he meets Alina again outside the office, and from nowhere she asks him to form a team with her. He feels weird about her offer. She is a weak partner who cannot ably save her life from the wolves. He refuses her by saying that she should find some stable work. It is not her line of work, and it is too dangerous to take part in such adventures. She nodded with a happy face. She was not disappointed in his rejection because people usually turn her down, but she said she would keep picking herbs until she found someone to form a team with her. She wants to get stronger and gather money to protect people. Hobgoblin was amazed to see her determination to become adventurous and protect others. He realizes he is also looking for someone he can trust. He knows very little about this world, and even though she is weak but still he can still trust her. He gives her the offer to be at his party, and with that he will also teach her how to fight properly, and since it is just a trial run, they will divide the rewards equally. He takes his hand out to make a deal, and on hearing this Alina starts crying out with happiness. She does not know how to thank him. The protagonist feels her emotions too. She invites him for lunch to celebrate their teaming up and thanks him. They went to the restaurant and both is for special day deal. After all this, she remembers she hasn't introduced herself, and she tells her name and she is a grade 6 rookie. He introduces him as Walker Parasite, and he registers for the adventure, and he just joins the adventure. She twitches to hear that he is only in the initial stage and still, he managed to beat Electbear. He said he is a self-taught fighter because of his grown up in the remote places of the mountains, and his martial art and magic skills help him a lot in it. Then he realizes he is talking too much. If he continues, he will end up revealing his reality. Their meal survived, but he needs clarification about how to eat with his helmet on. Alina feels he has been uncomfortable around here and doesn't want to remove his mask. He told her he had a big scar on his face, so he wore a helmet which also made his voice heavy. She calls the waitress and asks her to pack their food. She consoles him by saying that scares are common in this village. Once, a hobgoblin attacked my village. It brought much havoc to our people. The protagonist also remembers those times, that's why he wants to become stronger to protect everyone. Hobgoblin worried that if she knew he was also one of them, she would definitely hate him, so he kept this mask on until he found a human host. Alina gives him a meal box and pays much gratitude for forming a party with her. He wants to escort her back to her home, and he is worried that wolves will again attack her. She laughs and tells him no need to worry, those wolves carry her home once because she talks to them, and they made a deal. He finds this thing strange. He gives her instructions regarding working together as tomorrow is their first teamwork at the guild, and they are both excited. Alina comes to his location early in the morning and starts greeting him through the window. He wakes up suddenly, astonished to see her dedication, but he tells her to come to the guild, not to his place. She is asking someone about his room and rushes to the second floor to meet him. He is afraid that she will come directly into the room, so wears his mask rapidly before and comes out of his room. He asks her how she finds the place. She laughs and tells him by asking people around here if they have seen a man wearing a black cloak and a bird mask, and they easily give yours the location. The protagonist knows its getup stands out quickly, so it should find a replacement body before everyone knows about reality. The hobgoblin seemed out and in his own thoughts. She thought he had changed his mind about the party, but he refuses her thoughts and asks her to go straight to the guild as it is their first adventure after becoming a party. While moving through the fruit street, women offer him kaglem juice at a discount of 10 silver. He is giving her money when Alina stops him as the woman is asking double the price because he seems new in town. She told him these are the tactics in the market, so be aware of people like this. He asks her where she learns things like this. She told him when you are poor you will learn them automatically. She can't afford basic food and relies on herbs and needs to save more for special occasions. The protagonist feels so bad, she is so poor, but still, she buys him lunch. He becomes more determined to finish the quest and earn money to give her good food. They reach the adventured club. The receptionist felt suspicious about their teaming up. He asks her to give an easy quest as they are fresh participants. She thinks he can beat the Electbear so he could do an ES rank quest. Hobgoblin replies that they are looking for easy tasks to help train Alina. The receptionist gives them a horned rabbit whose horn can be used for ornamental purposes and is perfect for novices, but does not underestimate its size. She asks Alina to be extra careful. They enter the guild and have been looking for the rabbit in the bushes for 1 hour, but cannot find it. She thought there must be a goblin here who had already caught it. Hobgoblin does not want to fail in their first quest. He uses his magic symptoms and scans the area. He figures out something inside the log. He tells Alina to see inside the log. She is amazed by his magic skills but asks him a favor not to use magic on her. They stand on both sides of the log to catch the horned rabbit, and it rushes out of the log by hitting his helmet. She ran behind it to catch where she saw rock moles. They are mid-sized monsters stronger than horned rabbits. The hobgoblin takes care of rook moles and asks her to go for horned rabbit. He uses his magic to weaken the rabbit so she can handle it. He smashes the rock mole. They are not strong enough to block his attack. He is worried about her. She is struggling, but he is watching her moves. Her strength is equal to a horned rabbit. With just a little support, she can face such enemies. She chops its horn with her sword and grabs the horn of the rabbit. He appreciates her a lot, and she again starts crying because of the spirit of dealing with it all alone. She is overwhelmed to hear it but wants to stay grounded as it is her first quest. They completed the 6th grade and achieved 2 sacks of prizes for subjugating the horned rabbit. Parasite gives 1 reward to her, and she is grateful to receive it and thanks him for his support. She cannot do it without his help. They head to the market. She wants to buy a unique bag with this money. She tells him there are many stores that sell fake products, but she knows one store whose shop assistant is quite lovely and gives warranties for his product. It is known as Valkyrie Firm. They reach the market. The store looked quite big than he thought. Shopkeeper Roy comes with a big smile to welcome them. She tells him her name and that she is a member of Parasite Sen's party. He appreciates Hobgoblin and asks them what they want to buy in a very pleasing way. The protagonist thinks in their mind a Japanese phrase, "There is nothing more expensive than free," and refuses to buy anything from this guy. Alina tells him she is looking for a bag. They take the round of store. Everything is antique and authentic. Then he shows her the bag of holding she is looking for. This bag has a magic enchantment, 5 times the capacity of a standard bag. She is so excited to take it. He also offers Hobgoblin, but he refuses because he does not want to be in debt under Roy. Alina replies to him that she is taking a bag to protect both lives. The parasite thought she could beat wolves alone even if he had not helped her. They bought the bag and got out of the store. Roy Sama happily sees off them and has a smirked smile on his face. He places the tracking magic in the girl's bag. He finds Alina so kind and bright girl, even though she is from the countryside, but her aura is quite gentle. She will sell at a reasonable price on the black market. They are walking through the street. Alina is so grateful to Parasitsen for the bag. Now she feels like a real adventurer. He suddenly stopped. He felt like they were being watched. The protagonist detects something dangerous, and now he thinks about how Roy already knew his name. They are tracking her, and their main target is him. Alina asks him if everything is okay and why did he stop there. He replied he was tired. She tells him her place is nearby and that walking her to the inn is unnecessary. She will go on her own, but he refuses because he wants to escort her safely and then deal with Roy. He takes Alina to her place. She thanks him and further makes plans to visit his place sometime tomorrow. They will rest for one day and unite tomorrow for the next quest. She humbly waves to him and the protagonist starts blushing. His perverse life was completely messed up, but spending time with her made him happier. The Hobgoblin is moving to check with Valkyrie firm guys to make sure what they are planning to protect her from danger. While he is walking away from Alina, she is anxious about whether she is good enough to be part of his team. She still needs to learn more and train herself to carry her own weight. Some stranger comes in front of her wearing a black mask. Her face sweats because of fear. The parasite watched them all night outside Roy's building to see their activity, but no one showed up. Now he is waiting for Alina, but she has not yet arrived, and he gets worried about her. He thought she must have overslept. He went to her inn to check on her. When he moved into the building, he saw some guys who had harassed Alina before. They scurried off when they saw him and ran out. He runs after them. He uses his presence detection trace to find their location. This skill cannot work in crowded areas. He must find them before they hide in a public area. He traces them out, and one of the guys tries to kill him. Parasite fought with him before, but he becomes seriously stronger than before from there, the previous guild. He activated symptoms of electrocution skill. His body started shivering, and all lay down. He asks them about Alina, and if they refuse to answer, they will suffer more. They decline to know anything. He increases his skill on them. They rapidly tell him the truth. They sold her to some slavers. They had no choice. Those people would kill them if they declined their order. Hobgoblins ask him to tell those slavers' location, but he refuses to tell further as they will seriously kill them. He takes his hands out of his gloves. It is all in the goblin's hands and said, "You must be dead right now if you do not tell me." They speak out of fear. They keep all slaves in an abandoned fortress north. The Hobgoblin's shoe gets tears out of anger and his monster's paws come out. They are frightened to see all this and call him an absolute monster. He jumps over the building to the north in search of Alina. Gadgetu-sen has kidnapped Alina. He sold her to the slave traders. Parasite must hurry, otherwise he will not be able to find her. Alina has already heard of the rumors about slave traders. She cannot believe that they have captured her. She thinks Parasite-san might join another party as she has disappeared without acknowledging him. The slayers have kidnapped 6 people. These slavers are savage as they did not even spare a young girl. They have handcuffed them with metal. One guy grabs Alina's face and tells his companions she might be a valued item for sale. Alina starts to figure out a way to escape, otherwise she will be in a big problem. While the slavers are talking, Roy watches them from a distance. He is after the slavers as they are a big problem in his work. They are also a part of Valkyrie firm. He is glad to find the enslaved people alive. He can find them by putting a detection magic device in one of the girls' bags. The slavers are greedy and bring the bag with the girls. The slavers are 20 in number. Roy-sama is confident that he can kill all of them alone. His female employee tells him to rest as she wants to handle them. Roy-sama is an expert assassin who tells her he will not leave a single piece of evidence of their existence. He further tells her that if the black marketers get access to these girls, they will exploit them until they die. He cannot allow the slavers to take advantage of these girls alone. Meanwhile, a young girl starts crying. One slayer grabbed her hair and cried at her to shut her mouth. Alina pushed him to the ground. She shouted at him, "How can you treat a girl so horribly?" That guy punches Alina in the face. Slaver's master stops their fight. He believes that his products must not be damaged and that selling a girl like you is difficult. Roy liked her bravery, so planned to teleport her without being noticed. Suddenly, he noticed something moving fast through the forest. Based on his observations, if this monster runs into them, it can cost them significant damage. It was Parasite-san who came flying at the slavers. The boss slaver puts a knife under Alina's throat. Parasite gave him no time to act and grabbed his face with his giant hands. However, another slaver stabs Parasite in the back. He pulls out the stab knife and points it toward the boss slaver. Parasite-san killed the boss slaver with a knife. Then he starts to count all of his companions. He tells them that every one of them is going to die. His limbs have turned into claws. He dares them to come all at once. One attacked him with an axe. Parasite cut his arm off with his claws. Then he picked up his blade and killed 2 more guys in a single dispatch. One guy said he was a monster. All of them start to run away. Roy-sama is watching him kill all the slavers. He thinks of him as soft-hearted but could not expect such rage from Walker Parasite. Roy-sama had tried to gather some information about him. He ends up just acknowledging that he came out of a forest. Alina's body is freezing to see so much killing before her. She requested Parasite to stop killing. He He has killed everyone except one guy, which he spared for a while because Alina wants him to stop killing. All the hostiles are afraid of him. Alina tells them that he is here to help them. He freed them from handcuffs. Alina hugs him passionately. She feels sorry for making Parasite indulge him in a fight. He guesses she is afraid of him. She replied that she could be afraid of a person who fights agitatedly for her sake. Meanwhile, one lucky guy who managed to run away will now tell his masters the whole story. However, he gets caught by the black magic of Roy Sama. After watching all the evidence in the field, Roy is convinced that Parasir is not an assassin by profession. Roy's magic powers work like a witch. It can vanish a body by sucking it into the ground. Roy Sama somehow concluded that Parasite could control his opponent's mind. Moreover, he is a hobgoblin who can transform his body accordingly. He further estimates that he could also be affected by his powers. One thing he needs to know is Parasite's head. If his ambitions align with Parasite, they can work together. To get his attention, Roy started to mess. The rumors about the murder of Gadgetu and the slavers spread around the town. Everyone supposes Parasite to be their killer. He was listening to all the rumors. He was unaware of Gadgetu-san and his friends. He proclaimed to one of the groups of his killing the slave traders. However, he had not killed Gadgetu-san. However, everyone is watching him with terror. He was clueless about who had spread the news of the killings. He supposed the formerly enslaved people might have portrayed him as a monster, but he did not mind it because they might not have seen such horrific attributes before. A female employee of the Adventurers Guild inquires about the veracity of the rumors. He tells her that it is true that he has freed the girls from the slavers. She gets fascinated as the guild finds it hard to believe rumors. It made him think the rumors must be more about his reality as he had transformed his body in the fight. People are now more concerned about Parasite's and powers. Meanwhile, Alina appears on the scene, and she looks much happier. She is grateful to him as he did not let the slavers hurt her. However, Parasite asked her if Alina still wanted to be a part of her group. She replied, "I could never hate you as you have done everything for our protection." Parasite is amazed at her beautiful gratitude. Further on, Parasite has improved his vocals. She asked him if he could talk with her without that mask. He tries to change the topic of discussion and starts conversing about the new task they need to perform. She asked her if you had any requests available. Meanwhile, she brings out an E-ranked request about defeating the goblins. The goblins have yet to cause them any problems, but they want to eliminate them as an inhibitory measure. Parasite looks at the place of the goblins. It is the same place where he used to live with them. Alina forces Parasir to take this request. She further tells him that the goblins are vile creatures because they have destroyed her village. So, they must be stopped. Otherwise, they could be a potential threat to the town. Parasite replied that the goblins in their area had not caused any damage to them, so they are not evil. The guild's employee told Parasite they had to stop them because one among the goblins had grown into a beast that could lead them to the town. Parasite gets perplexed. He tells Alina that he is not feeling well, so he will not be able to perform any requests today. Alina wants to see him off to the restroom, but he denies her assistance and suggests she collect some herbs today. They were astonished by his behavior. Meanwhile, Parasite is facing a big problem. Goblins are like his companions. Nevertheless, the adventurers think of them as a threat. If he tries to defend them, he will expose himself too. While sorting out the problem, Roy-sama pops up. He appreciates his work for the enslaved people and tries to initiate a conversation. However, Parasite-san excuses him as he does not want to face anyone now. Roy stops him and hands him over Alina's hairpin. Roy further tells him that Parasite-san could have been in big trouble as he did not tell the girls to keep his killings a secret. So, Roy himself cleared his mess. That is why after so many witnesses of his killings, it is still a rumor. Parasite is in debt for his assistance. After watching my monstrous side, he asked if you still wanted to accompany me. Roy answered that it was a privileged partnership for himself. Parasite does not want to be indebted to him but asks for other assistance. So, the story goes as the Hobgoblin Sama returns to the Goblin's cave. Goblins are extremely happy to see him. He is completely dressed up, but they can still recognize him. They started to cuddle him with joy as he did not forget to come back. One goblin calls him a person who must meet all expectations. Roy is amazed to watch them talking. All the goblins are stunned to see a human. Parasite tells them that Roy is their friend. Roy realizes that Parasite-san wants him to protect the goblins against the guild's request. Parasite thought that he knew more about me than usual, so he removed his mask and showed him that he was a hobgoblin. Roy already knew this secret. Roy gives him a suggestion to move all the goblins to a place that is already cleared by the request. No one will come to check for goblins there again. However, the goblins do not want to leave the cave. Hobgoblin asked him to change the plan. The killing of a goblin has become an annual event, so they are not safe at any place. Parasite-san is happy to help them, but at the same time, he thinks that if they were human, He must put them to work under his merchant firm in exchange for this virtue. Parasite tells Roy that he knows his secret profession of assassination. Roy expects him to know it, and he answers that weak goblins cannot help in such professions. Parasite replies to him, what if they get stronger, saying that he activates all mutated symptoms. It turns all the small goblins into giant beasts. He tells him that they are now more robust, intelligent, and proficiently obedient. So, what do you think about it? Parasite asked. Roy Sama delightfully said he could use them where humans cannot be entrusted. They made a deal. Roy tells him that he had to train them to use them professionally, and their protection is also mine responsibility. Parasite asked him that he must use them for easy tasks. Roy replied that he has many sustainable tasks for them. Both of them convinced the goblins that they must avoid fighting. Even if they succeed in the first attack, the guild will send stronger adventurers for the second attack. Roy asked him about Alina-san. Parasite tells him she has always hated goblins since they attacked her village. These words of Parasite show a different perspective of him from a hobgoblin. Roy Sama depicts this evidence and tells him that he is sure someone is using possession magic on Hobgoblin Sama. Parasite is perplexed by his accurate estimation. He first thought about it when he saw Parasite fighting wolves, unaware of any damage. Roy suggested to Parasite to change his host for the sake of Alina. Parasite has no choice but to trust Roy in this situation. After one day, Parasite-san meets Alina. He feels sorry for what happened yesterday. However, Alina is excited to show him something. Alina tells him that she had hunted a horned rabbit alone. She caught the rabbit by tricking it into eating food, and it exposed itself. Parasite appreciates her work. However, she is quite embarrassed as it was an F-ranked request. Parasite still admires her hard work. However, Alina is preparing more significant motives. She grabs a paper from her bag containing the dungeon request and questions Parasite if he would like to complete this request. Alina is excited as he has heard that the dungeon is quite near the marketplace where they are present. At the same time, Parasite had no idea about it. People are very energetic around him. One group is discussing the birthplaces of monsters. No one seems aware of such a dangerous adventure. Alina is pleased to find everyone excited like her. She has heard that dungeon monsters are the same as monsters outside it. They saw a player in 3rd grade. They thought players of such grades could quickly get immense treasures inside the dungeon. Parasite-san is still on the same awarded registration level 6. The dungeon is filled with valuable minerals, ammunition, and resources. However, many horrible monsters are growing near it. Alina has heard that the dungeon is guarded to keep the monster inside. Parasite-san thinks that he can acquire multiple symptoms from them. Alina gets excited, and she insists on entering the task right now. Parasite tells her they need a lantern, a map, and food on this journey. He worries about her as it is her first time going to the dungeon. Alina buys all the necessary items with the money of the horned rabbit. As they reach the entrance to the dungeon, they see heaps of underground ruins. All of a sudden, Alina stepped on a slime-like sticky substance. Parasite pops its nucleus so it shrinks, and she quickly pulls her leg off it. However, this substance is poisonous. She saw a herb that could prove to be effective against its poison. Parasite asked Alina if she must have the experience to counter such things. She answered that she has 0 experience in adventuring. Instead, she has read the whole guidebook for the dungeon. She further tells him that she does not want to be a burden on him. Parasite is impressed by her hard work, but he still keeps an eye on her. They are on the ground floor, and suddenly, a few more slimes try to jump on them. They pierce slimes into pieces. Alina's dress gets stuffed by its sticky mass. Parasite senses that this slime has poison, paralysis, and acidic symptoms depending upon its color. Alina is tired of facing the same problems she counters outside the dungeon. Meanwhile, she watches a spoke corpse. It looks like a dead man buried here many years ago. The skeleton tries to attack her. She moves away from her and cries to Parasite for help. He shatters the skeleton in a single dispatch. She had no idea the corpse would attack them. In no time, all the pieces of the skeleton start reuniting. They understand that until its head is broken, it will keep on regenerating. Parasite tries to infect him to get some of his attributes before destroying his head. So, the story goes as Parasite infection did not infect the skeleton. It is because the body of a skeleton does not work like a human body. Thus, he breaks its head into pieces with his powerfully built head strike. It had slime on its head. Parasite throws it away. Alina sorted out its weak spot and sliced it through his sword. She tells Parasite that such creatures are energized by mana. If their core is destroyed, their body also gets dysfunctional. Parasite infects its controlling slime and gets numerous symptoms from its skeleton. He feels sorry for throwing slime at her. She tells him she stabs it while Parasite does the rest of the work. He inspires her. Parasite feels ashamed, while this girl feels too kind to him. Suddenly, Alina starts to grow up. He asked her about the reason. She tells him that it is because of mana. When a body containing mana dies, its mana transfers into another living creature. If a person gets excessive mana, their body starts to glow. Now she feels more robust, and her level is increased by 1. However, she is sorry for taking all the mana. Parasite only considers these things if his host is strong enough. Despite that, he has many symptoms that are unbeatable. He thought that it was better for her to get stronger. After some distance of walking, they watch a strange monster. Alina tells him that it is called Lizard Man. Such creatures are not brilliant, but they have agility and sharp claws. Parasite tries to step ahead, but she wants to fight this monster this time. He gets astounded as Alina wants to fight all by herself. She asked Parasite that if her plan fails, then he must help her. She plans to decrease the temperature around the lizard to hamper its agility. She had bought a cold ball for this purpose. She tossed the ball near him, and her plan worked. She attacks it from behind, but the lizard man draws out his shield and blocks her attack. She gives him a second blow but manages to cut its neck this time. She asked Parasite about the encounter. He is amazed at her skillful fight. Alina is told that she needs to have control of her nerves. She had already prepared plans to fight all the monsters until the 5th floor. She does not want to cause any problems for him. Her impressive skills make him feel jealous of her. Moving on in the dungeon, they are attacked by ants. Alina takes her sword and chops off the ant in parts. He spells magic on them, and soldier ants move toward Parasite and start climbing on him. She thanks him for taking care of them. She will see the killer ant queen once it is down, and the rest of the ants automatically scattered. When she saw Parasite, he was covered with a lot of ants. He grabbed some of them in his hands, but there were a lot more than he expected. These ants' jaws are incredibly strong, so ripping them off isn't easy. She split them off with his sword. He's relieved and thanks her for getting rid of them. She happily replies, "No worries, you can count on me." He never anticipates such words from her. He always imagined she was standing behind him and asking for help. He will not let her enter the dungeon because of danger and deal with all monsters on their own. She left him for another team because they are no match in mana, but in reality, things are different. After entering into the dungeon, Alina changes completely into a different person, and her mana is increased incredibly. The protagonist thinks his original mana was quite low. He needs to work on his grounds. Alina is confidently moving forward to the next floor. She is sure she can beat any monsters up to the 5th floor now. She is flaunting her skills that she can even beat a lizardman, skeleton, or a bloodbat without using any tools. When they reached the 5th floor, she was shocked to see huge monsters there. They hadn't seen such monsters before. They are trolls, one of them eating many monsters of this floor. The monsters are incredibly stronger and are supposed to live on the 20th floor. She said there was no way to beat them, and it was a shame that they didn't find any treasure. They had no choice except to move back. The protagonist's eyes spark because now it's time to show his strength and restore his honor. He replies to her, "No problem, I can take them down easily with my magic." She told him she knew he was strong, but these monsters are a lot, and taking them down is not possible. He asks her to sit and watch his magic and spread the confusion symptoms to them. The protagonist also transfers into one of the troll bodies to beat them personally and create a fuss between them. While he is shifting into different bodies, the body of the hobgoblin remains in an unconscious state. Alina is confused to see all this, and it came back to its body. They are standing on the balcony and watching the fight between trolls. He told her he uses his magic on them. She cherishes his tricks. She said she has no idea he is capable of such strength. The parasite feels overwhelmed. All of a sudden, his eyes pop to see a giant rock coming toward them. He holds Alina in his arms and jumps out of the balcony. They are falling straight into the horde. While diving on the ground, parasite titans hold on her. The protagonist feels his body is not strong enough to protect her, so it leaves the goblin's body. Now Hobgoblin is dazzling and loses control over his body because he is a weak host. The protagonist shifted into a troll body and catches her in its hands to protect her from falling. But Alina has no idea. She is so aggressive with trolls, because of them she loses his friend. She takes his sword out to take revenge. The troll told her it is the protagonist. How could she know this? She just wants to save Parasite Sam. She tears the troll's hand with full force and it loses its grip on her. She falls from his hands. In the air, she tries to grab its leg hairs to save herself from falling and jumps to the floor. The other trolls are in an unconscious state. They pull each other down, and in such a condition, the protagonist troll cannot reach her. She gets many scratches because of their fighting. When she emerges from all those trolls, she sees Parasite lying on the ground. She is all injured but still does not want to leave his savior alone and escape. The hobgoblin in getting his senses and show some movements. The protagonist sees him alive. He thinks it is better to take the hobgoblin's body, so it jumps out of the troll's body to the goblins, and now he is completely recovering memory and strength again. She is so happy to see him stable again. The parasite tells her not to take tension. He is back now, and firstly they need to find a safe place here. She is coming to him. Suddenly, in the fighting of trolls, one smashes the floor with a huge bone, and the floor breaks from that area. Alina is also standing there. She also falls into it. The protagonist is sweating out of fear. If she falls onto the lowest floor, she might not be able to survive. He has no option left except to infect her and take her body. He does not want to do it, but it is necessary to save her life and spread the virus into the air. Parasite stands on the edge of the floor and sees inside whether the magic spell reached on time. Alina falls into a deep dungeon. It is so dark in the dungeon. The virus gives notification of Lucky One, a symptom discovered in someone. The protagonist estimates this sign from Alina. If so, he needs to hurry up and jump into her body. After calculating the dungeon's depth, he figures out it is useless because she falls so far from its reach, it cannot transfer itself, or she is already dead. He jumps into the dungeon. He felt so sorry for her, he thought it was all his fault. She would not face such difficulty if he did not show off his powers. Despite the virus's power, he still has limited knowledge compared to Alina. He is sliding down with the help of his paws. In the deep cave, some people are killed by a giant spider monster. Only a man and a girl are alive. They are horrified to see it and it is coming toward them. The man is a panoply. He hires a professional team to reach the treasures on the bottom floor, but now all his members are killed. Only a girl is left. Her mana is also very low. She cannot even fight to protect him. He threw the girl before the spider so he could get more time to run away from it. She screams out why he is doing this. That selfish man replies that he is not getting himself in danger for saving some stranger. The spider opens its mouth to eat her. The parasite flies over there and screws off the spider. Both of them were shocked to see him kill such a monster so easily. Parasite comes close to her thinking of Alina, but she is not her. The girl is anxious to see him, and she has never seen such a monster before. She looks at his hands. He is wearing a tag, which means he is also an adventurer. He asks whether she glimpses a girl wearing a green skirt and red headband. She is shorter than her. She refuses to see any girl around here. Parasite nodded, turned to the man, and instructed him to take the girl out of there safely. It is essential to take care of your companions. After saying this, he flew away. It had been hours since he searched for her, and despite using his night vision and presence detection skills, he could not find any trace of the area where she fell. The protagonist is weeping in fear of losing her. Suddenly, a lizard monster emerges from the dungeon's walls and grabs him in its trail. The parasite has no time to deal with such mirror monsters. He spells Magic Tread 1 on it, which ties around the monster's neck, and then uses Acid Secretion 1, which decays its body completely and releases him. After using such heavy magic skills, he needs to build up self-healing, which causes so much fatigue, but his spirit is so high that these things cannot stop him from finding her. He moves on in a hurry, thinking she must be counting on him to save her. A glittering light comes his way, and there is a beautiful girl, like a godly figure, holding a lantern and sparkling magic in her hands. He looks into her eyes to find who she is. She first calls Parasite the monster, but then realizes it is early to judge someone. She asks him if he is a monster or a human. He cannot even move an inch. She controls him through her magic spell. Her magic cannot let it move a bit and has complete control over him. She finds Parasite suspicious. It is her job to observe all participants. The way he deals with all monsters makes him noticeable. She asks him for his identity, but she hasn't heard any response from him. She thinks of increasing the magic effect to punish him, but figures out he is still under the effect of immobilization. She lowers the intensity of the magic, and now he can speak. He saw the girl, and she looked like an elf. He imagines why such is here alone. He tries all symptoms as he can to move, but nothing works. Her way of carrying herself is completely different, and it can be easily estimated that she is from an entirely different league from the other mages he has ever met. It will be safer for him to answer her question and not to create a mess further, as he needs to find Alina. He replies he is a human. She doesn't believe his words. She comes close to him and takes off his mask. She responds, "But you are like a hobgoblin." He settles his helmet and says, "If you already know my identity, then there is no need to ask such a question, and I can also ask you the same question. But right now, I am short of time." She tells him to hold on. She is part of the guild staff. She is currently patrolling in the dungeon. The protagonist remembers she looks like that lady from reception. Her role is to ensure that no dangerous creature can escape the confines of the dungeon. This dungeon exists as an essential resource for the city, but it has also seen many strong monsters appear here. So, she is here because she thought he was also a monster. The parasite thinks of taking any monster's body, but after seeing he changes his mind. She usually thinks hobgoblins never go out of their way to help others, and he also wears the tags of an adventurer. She told him the guild accommodates many individuals in various circumstances, but as he is hobgoblin, things are different for him. She wishes him to live a normal, healthy life. He tells her he is looking for his teammate. She is very important to him. When he was a rat, he thinks to attack all humans and want to start a pandemic, but after meeting her he changes his mind and wants to live a normal life and spend rest of life to protect her. He begs her to release him so he can find her. She considers his request and releases him, but she refuses to help him find Alina as it's against the rules of the guild. She wishes him luck and forwards her hand for friendship. The parasite San spread all his symptoms on her to get some magic strength from her. He is bid embraced to do so. While she is moving on, she once again threatens him about next the guild, which is extremely dangerous, and she will not have mercy upon him, so she left by saying this. He thought after finding Alina he would never try anything reckless and would take only requests which matched his skill level. He uses magic perception but didn't get any sign of humanity. The layout of this place seems very complex. It's useless to wander here. He plans to visit that floor again where they fell. While rushes toward the upper floor, he senses something strange. The place he's been through is completely changed. The monsters he killed here and their bodies all vanish from there. He sees a wall in front of him and he questions himself, is it a dead end? How can the floor change itself completely? He gets more worried because it becomes impossible to find her. There's a magical circle sparking behind him. While searching for Alina, the dungeons repaired themselves and he missed the path. He is estimating that light is emitting out from that shape. It seems like a magic circle. A huge tiger comes out of it and attacks the parasite. He blocks his attack and tears it apart with his paws. The magic circle is still present there. He stands on it and it pulled him inside. He transfers to another place. He hasn't visualized this place before. There he sees a bunch of circles around though which the monsters used to move around. The protagonist, though Alina might be warped in one of these circles, can also use these circles to move instead of running around like a headless chicken. While he is imagining all these scenarios, a tiger comes out of the bushes and bites his arm. Is this a den of tigers? Many tigers come out of the circle and he infects all of them at once to take them down. He smashes the one who bites his arm and tigers come into his wrapping circle. He passes the spear through it. It's a trap. He gets the idea to finish them all in one go. He uses the order of symptoms that he got from Elf and controls them all together. He orders them to stand on the magic circle and shear them all with spears. He has a circle left with no monster left anymore. He thinks to go into that circle, but he is afraid. There is no backup for him if he transfers into it, but pulls his back and memories all the efforts Alina do to rescue him. She risked her life to save him. He will not abandon her. And he jumped on the wrapped circle. It is way stronger than others. It twiddles like a storm, and when he opens his eyes, he is in the beautiful underground lake. And he can't believe there he sees Alina reading a book beside the lake. He runs toward her with happiness. He finally found her. Alina can completely identify the voice of Parasite San. She also rushes toward him. She has a firm belief in him that he will come here to save her. She is waiting for him for so long. The parasite comes out of the dark. He is so happy to see her and asks her to go home. His helmet is broken and half of his face is unveiled. Alina was shocked to see him and called out goblin. He sees here and there were goblins Alina, but there is no one around. Then why is she calling a goblin? He asks her what's wrong with her and uncertainly sees his face in the water reflection. He rapidly hides his face with his hand. He never wants her Eve to see this face. He starts apologizing to her for being a goblin. This body did very bad to her family and village. He is sorry for scaring her. He wants to explain to her about his identity and the bodies he uses to transfer, but he knows she can't understand it and still hates him because he is a hobgoblin. He promises her after reaching the surface he will leave her and never comes in front of her. Alina is so grounded, she has tears in his eyes. She is extremely sorry to him. She has no idea that Parasite San is a goblin and she hurt him by saying rash words about goblins. Even her village was attacked by his creatures, but she never thinks any goblin can be like Parasite. She bows in front of him and asks for forgiveness. He also has tears in his eyes. He consoles her by saying he could never hate her. He is the one who hid his identity and made her feel bad, but she still forgives him. They sit on the bank of the lake, and he explains his side of the story. The possession magic through which he can transfer into anybody and take hold of it. Likewise, now he is borrowing a hobgoblin body, and his original body is decayed. Alina says it means you are only a soul. He replies, yes, you can say that, but not exactly. She is confused about viruses and reincarnation. Leaving this topic, he tells her they met earlier than she thought, and it was not in the guild. At that time she was wandering in the forest, and he still remembers her smile was so pleasant. She also memories those moments when he was in the wolf's body and saves her from the goblins. So, it means he has been following her for so long, and she is also very happy that he protects her and supports her in every situation. He is glad she wants his support. Now they are normal with each other. She asks him to find a way out of this room, as much as she knows there is no exit in this room. He is looking around to see the circle through which he comes to this room. But he sees nothing, expects walls. He feels the walls with his paws and uses magic perception symptoms to find a way. There's one wall through which magic is leaking out. He breaks into that area and there they see a room full of treasure. It's all expensive magic artifacts. She starts collecting them as much as she can. Parasite felt something strange, an aura which is stronger than Elf. In the treasure room there is a huge door that is releasing immense power. He thinks there is a powerful monster ahead. She added, maybe there is a dungeon boss, she is not sure, but she read in the books about it and it's the strongest boss in a dungeon. It's not like normal enemies, no matter how many it's killed it comes back again. Even if we beat it, in a few days it'll return. Moreover, it gains more strength with each rebirth and becomes so strong nobody can defeat it. And that's how the first part of this manual ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word part 2. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.